Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room. Back with you here on a very, very happy Friday, Junior. That's right, Matt. Going back to my old, formerly no names of days of the week so that we can play mental gymnastics until we get to the weekend. This is Friday, Junior. Hopefully, you guys and gals are off to a great start. How you feeling this morning, big guy? We gave you a day off from both the bar business and show business yesterday. You feeling groovy?
I'm feeling great, man. Thank you for the respite. I definitely needed it. It's just one of those things that you go a little bit back and forth. You wear yourself down, and I really, truly enjoyed my time away to get some sort of mental clarity that it's just needed some time for myself, I guess.
So we went full dark space, did we?
No, not so much.
Did you end up going to the Aaron Rodgers Darkness Retreat in Oregon? That would have been a quick turnaround.
It would have been a quick turnaround. I don't know how it would have got there back and forth within 24 hours.
I don't know either.
Put myself on my couch with my two bulldogs and sat there and got to enjoy just some time to myself, do some administrative work that doesn't get done a lot for the bar, and I just some time to myself, I guess. So I truly enjoyed it. Thank you again for giving me some break. Yeah,
you can take whatever break that you need. So inquiring minds want to know, how many times did you rewatch the male porn, Top Gun? How many times did you watch that again?
So it depends. Are we talking the first one or the second one?
The second one, the obnoxiously loud second one that I know that Nash and Rick are just always like lamenting the times in which it comes on.
Well, the thing is that the guys can understand which one is playing because I play them both, and whether the first one soundtrack to me is still better than the second. And
isn't Kenny Loggins in both of them?
Yes, he is, but it's not just the Kenny Loggins soundtrack. It's more the gears, the afterburners. So I'm not really listening to the soundtrack. It's more the audio. And so when the entire walls start to shake and things start to happen, the guys can definitely tell whether I'm watching the first one or the second one.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I know that Top Gun, the first one and the second one, which came out, Top Gun Maverick.
Yep.
Is amongst your favorite movies of all time, and largely not because
the first one. The second one, yes, a little bit. Yeah,
these can't be because of the plot or the acting. They have to be because of the visuals, right? Like, so seeing the planes kind of gets you off in that respect because it can't be anything to do with the acting or the plot.
Well, they're also sentimental to me. Not to get down that road. I lost a couple friends of mine back in the day, and we used to watch that when we lived together.
In Air Force?
No,
okay.
College.
Oh, and, got it. Okay.
My buddy was always a good friend. Yeah, we were never gonna go down that military road, but when we would ever be back, back in the day, and Fro, I miss you still to this day. But yeah, it's still one of those sentimental things, and it's honestly, I know you're not really into the masculinity and like the MMA, and I'm not into the volleyball scene as well, my friend, but it's just
you're talking about the volleyball scene of you mean misplaced male aggression in the first one. Oh, and then I was like, I'm a masculine.
No. And then you have the flag football game in the second one. And
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know you didn't want to watch the second one until I forced you to watch a little bit of it and just to watch the audio.
Yes.
It is what it is. It's not necessarily a plot. It's an action movie. Fucking Tom Cruise. I don't know how he's still doing it at what goddamn 70 it feels like. Yep.
But he looks fantastic.
Yeah, better than Chris Rock still.
I don't know where what did Chris Rock look bad in?
He just looked like he had, he's almost 60 in his stand-up this past weekend, and he's got Botox in his face. He looks like he's trying to look. He looks like he's trying to look 40, brother. And that's why it was just hard for me to watch. And I love Chris Rock. Gotta get me right. I love him. It looked painful just trying to watch.
This is what you did yesterday. You watched The Real Housewives of Atlanta. You got very catty. You're talking about Chris Rock's Botox.
Actually, I went down a rabbit hole, and it wasn't that. I watched, Hank Azaria and Brockmeyer. So I went down that rabbit hole with baseball yesterday.
Okay, Hank Azaria's probably had some work done, too. Great voiceover actor, by the way. He's the voice of Apu and Apu and a whole bunch of other, at least until they retired that character.
Yeah, exactly.
The Simpsons. All right, so Thomas UWL checking in saying, good morning. T-minus 2 days until spring break.
Where are you going, Thomas?
Exactly. Where are you going, Thomas? Spring break around here is not really like springy. There's nothing spring about 40 degrees and dark clouds. It should be okay today, but I think we're supposed to get some snow later tonight.
Well, and I got to throw this out to you. Dave, it's really not a great year for spring break, depending on where you're going. Florida still hasn't recovered from Ian and the shit going on in Mexico. Yeah, I'd hire a bodyguard if I was going down there.
If you were going down there for a surgery or something?
No, that just for spring break. Acapulco, Cancun, there's just been a lot of hired gang activity. So just make sure you're being safe out there, Thomas, and everybody going for spring break, no matter where you're going.
I guess. All right. Rob Dog says, Dave, is it bad that after a shitty night of work, I turned on the World Baseball Classic, cracked open a can of Coca-Cola to relax? Talk to me, Goose. Talk to me. No, Rob Dog, you're a big baseball fan. That's fine. The World Baseball Classic's starting to go on right now. I saw Shohei Ohtani hit 2 3-run jacks in a tune-up game the other day. That dude's my favorite baseball player of like all time.
He's
right
definitely
now.
the most entertaining, that's for sure.
Well, just the fact that he is the most complete baseball player.
All around.
When you talk about a baseball player, the guy is a top pitcher. He is also a top offensive player. That is a baseball player if I've ever seen one. All right, good stuff, guys and gals. We have got a really fun show coming up here this morning on the Sports Carnival, again, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, 8:30 or thereabouts. We'll be talking to our green and gold insider, Joe Daguanno, who, Matt, we couldn't talk to on Monday because, we couldn't talk to anybody on Monday.
True story.
We were out of commission thanks to the weather event, which as I looked outside and I saw the prediction coming up, as I was talking about today being sort of a nice day, we may have some more snow today into tonight. So we'll see. Long and short of it, we couldn't get Joe Daguanno or anybody on Monday, so we'll go back to Joe today. And this is actually going to be a better time to really talk to Joe because we're getting really, really close. At least it feels like we're getting really close to finding something out about Aaron Rodgers and what will happen with Aaron Rodgers coming up this season. Because Aaron Rodgers, as we talked about yesterday with Mike Schmidt, had a contingent of the Jets, a contingency of the Jets, including owner Woody Johnson, general manager Joe Douglas, head coach Robert Saleh, and disgraced former head coach and former friend of Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett. So they flew to California. They met with Rodgers. Apparently, the Jets feel that they're getting close on this particular pursuit. I was watching and listening to some reports this morning in preparation of the program, and the thought is coming out of the New York Jets camp anyways, they are getting close to landing Aaron Rodgers. Now, what that's going to take, what the Packers' compensation is going to be getting in return for Aaron Rodgers, we'll jump into all of this coming up with Joe Daguanno at 8:30. When we come back, though, I want to talk about a couple of things that could be seen as highly disturbing. One is the Wisconsin Badgers' performance in the first half of the Big Ten tournament against Ohio State yesterday evening, last night. The second half comeback was great, but the disturbing part was that first half and how inept this team was. Now, the second part of this disturbing thing with the Wisconsin Badgers could be, and this could be an A and a B with respect to the disturbing nature of the Badgers, they most likely won't make the NCAA tournament, which means I owe Matty Ice $10.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
Not happy about that. The other disturbing piece of news comes out of the states of Colorado and Michigan. And this is disturbing to me because I value sports betting and the integrity that is supposed to be tantamount to sports betting. The WWE is propositioning the states of Colorado and Michigan right now to legalize WWE matches as things that you can bet on in a legal sports book. Listen, this is a kind of an idea that would give rise to a whole different subgroup of conspiracy theorists like our former friend Chad. Yep. I shouldn't say former friend, still my friend, but our former producer Chad. So I want to get into both the Badgers and how bad that was yesterday, at least in the first half versus Ohio State. And then we'll change gears. We'll transition and we'll talk about Vince McMahon, the WWE, and exactly what they are trying to do in both the states, as I've mentioned, of Colorado and Michigan, getting this stuff legalized in sports gambling books. Stick around. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Hello, I am Don Francisco, and I roast and blend coffees for your pleasure and mine. My newest blend is Vanilla Nuts. The coffee so rich and so sweet, it tastes like the French Alps has dangled its in your cup of java. If you love coffee like I do, then you'll love Don Francisco's with a 135-year tradition. Because at Don Francisco's, if you're up all night, so are we.
Back on the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live, Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room, back open today at 11 o'clock, and I'll be behind the bar getting you all set for lunch and getting you set for a really fun weekend. I'll be there tomorrow as well. So if you're looking forward to some lunch and perhaps you've missed out on giving Uncle Dave some shit for predicting that the Badgers were going to be in the NCAA tournament, come on over and see us. Today we've got our Euro spicy and traditional with your choice aside, $14. Also, Prime rib sandwich is back on the menu today. That is shaved prime rib with the au jus sauce. And your choice of side, that is 16 buckaroos. I know that P1 Breacher, who's checking in here, talking about betting on predetermined matches. Yeah, we're going to get into that.
Oh, yeah.
I know that P1 Breacher literally touches himself when he comes to the recovery room to eat the Euro and or the prime rib sandwich.
I thought it was just because he gets to
highly
see
sexual.
You. I thought it's just because he gets to see you.
It doesn't hurt.
Okay.
It doesn't hurt. As a matter
top of the morning, Jason.
Yeah, thank you. Top of the morning, Jason. And we'll be saying top of the morning a lot more because coming up next week is what? St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah.
So that's when we get to all use our faux Irish accents and start saying top of the morning to you. And do that with such great aplomb. I'm sure the people in Ireland think of us as quite a bunch of buffoons, but needless to say, we enjoy it here.
Yeah, as long as mostly Irish people just hate Americans that order car bombs. That's about it. It's not an Irish thing.
We're going to be making a lot of Irish car bombs.
I know we are. I'm already prepared for it. But yeah, that's basically the only reason people in Ireland really hate Americans when it comes to St. Paddy's Day, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I doubt that's the only reason.
It's one of the big reasons.
Maybe. I've had some relatives that have been European, still are European, and I've asked them why, and there's a longer list than that. It stretches out quite a bit. I digress. America. So anyways, we'll culturally appropriate St. Patrick's Day for ourselves, and we'll do what we fucking want to.
We do it for every holiday.
Absolutely. One bitch that I'm going to give to you, because we're both wearing our Recuff hats this morning, and again, back open at 11. One bitch, we can't really even do a good Irish car bomb, and maybe this is on purpose because we don't have the right kind of shot glasses to go inside of the glasses.
Oh, it doesn't mean I can't get them by next week. That's not the problem.
Well, I'm just going to say, like, I think that's part of your ultimate, like, diabolical plan to not do Irish car bombs. The same reason that you don't have a blender behind the bar, because you're like, I'm not getting into this shit.
Yeah, I lived the blender life for about 25 years of my life, and
Matt
the bar
refuses to get a blender.
Yeah, no blender. Sorry, guys. No popcorn machines. Karaoke, that can still one out there for me. No race, no religion, no politics, and no arm wrestling are basically just everybody come and have a good time and don't be an asshole. Just try to be a decent human being.
Yeah, don't go over the top.
Yep.
Arm wrestling reference there. Boosh dropped it in on you. Thomas, UWL's checking back in and saying, Matt, that he needs to check out the recovery room sometime soon. Maybe when he turns the 2-1 sometime. He said, my dad used to go to the recovery room before. That's a great way to phrase that.
Well, if your
maybe sometime soon when you turn the 2-1, because Thomas just turned the big 2-0.
Well, and if his parents still, you can still come in for lunch.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, Thomas, come and see me sometime for lunch, man.
Come in with your mom or dad.
Yeah.
Or, come in for lunch.
Yeah, if you come in for lunch, you're fine.
Or, yeah, if you're coming for lunch, yeah, you're good. Because we don't really, obviously, we're going to card you, not let you drink, but we serve for people underage till about 3 o'clock because we have your Turbo next door. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Foreman's checking in. It's funny as I'm getting ready to tell people how to act at the bar. Foreman saying, yeah, come in and behave like me, LOL, which generally means don't come in at all until everybody else is ready to leave. Order a Mountain Dew, keep it on the bar, disappear for an indeterminate amount of time, come on back, win $40 out of the Spookies, and then I guess go home to your wife. That would be how Foreman acts at a bar.
It was pretty spot on there.
That was very spot on.
Yep.
I've known Foreman a long time now. Good dude. All right, so the Badgers. Let's get to something that I did not like from yesterday. I told you there were two things that were kind of getting my, getting in my craw this morning. One of them was the Badgers, and most specifically the first half of last night's game versus the Ohio State Buckeyes. This was an absolute shit show. The Badgers scored 18 points in the first half. I had rarely seen anything quite so inept. I'm serious. The fact that they could not score more than 18 points was it was an absolute embarrassment. And I thought at halftime, this Badger team was going to go one of two ways. They were going to absolutely just fold in on themselves and score another 6 points for the rest of the game and get thoroughly embarrassed, or they were going to do something to prove that they still had some moxie and some bite and some bim and some bigger and some grit and some determination. And Matt, that's exactly what the Badgers did in the second half. Now, the Buckeyes didn't do themselves any favors. They started to play as soon as the second half started, and the first couple of minutes of the second half didn't look too bad for Ohio State. But the Buckeyes started to play a game of, we're going to do this, or we're going to do whatever we can not to lose, as opposed to we're going to come out here and try to win the game.
Right.
And when they started to play not to lose, the Wisconsin Badgers smelled that, and they started a full court press that was absolutely devastating to Ohio State. The Buckeyes had a lot of problems with the press that the Badgers put on them, and Wisconsin started to finally hit some shots. couple of guys you see on your screen in front of you, however, did not have good games, including Chucky Hepburn. This guy could not hit the broadside of a barn. He hit a basket in the second half, I believe. I think that you've got Chucky Hepburn's stats up here, but this guy was just absolutely atrocious. Tyler Wall, who had been the most consistent Badger scorer this season, the leading scorer on the team, averaged over 12.5 points a game. He couldn't get it going in the first half at all. Really, nobody could. Again, 18 points in that first half, but did start to get some things working in the second. The Ohio State size and athleticism, however, and don't worry if you don't have it up, Matt.
I'm looking for it.
Don't worry.
Well, no, I have you right now. So, I mean,
it's not that important.
I have something for you, but yeah, just you keep going, brother. I'll be right there.
Yeah, it's don't worry about it. It's not that important. The point that I was going to make is that nobody could hit the broadside of the barn. Tyler Wall, again, second half was just so absolutely. In the first half, he was just so absolutely inept. Brother. The second half, it was a lot better. Okay, so we did get that. But at least the Badgers did come out and show some fight. The first half, again, was one of those halves of basketball in which you watch and wonder how Greg Gard gets to keep his job, how this team is going to have any hope in the next couple of years of returning to the prominence that we have seen them have, 21 of the last 22 years being an NCAA tournament team. You just didn't look at that first half and feel like there was going to be almost any hope. Second half, though, comes back, and the Badgers got real close. I mean, this got to be a really close game, so I did give the Badgers a lot of credit for that. Ohio State, like I mentioned, wilted under that full-court press, and it'll be tough to see how Ohio State now goes on to beat an Iowa team that the Badgers have already beaten twice this season. By the way, that game will tip off the Ohio State-Iowa game after Rutgers-Michigan, which starts at 11 o'clock this morning.
Well, and I'm sorry, I was a little late on that. I'm going to say this because you already addressed it, but it was the tale of two halves. It looked like Wisconsin, after beating Minnesota, just came out flat. They couldn't play anything. Offense was horrible. If we look at it for right now, Chucky Hepburn was 1 for 6 for 3 for the and then 2 for 9 overall for the entire day. Jordan Davis only had 7 points. In the first half, they were 0 for 7 from 3 in the first. They were 7 for 23 all around, as you mentioned, 18 points. They were behind by 27 points. At one point, they only did not score for 4 minutes and 29 seconds. The Badgers only won 5 games in the Big Ten this season. This is
that was Ohio State.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, was it Ohio State?
Yeah, Ohio State went 5 and 15 in the conference. The Badgers were 9 and 11.
9-11, and then I'm sorry. This is where I was going. This is the second year in a row in the Big Ten tournament that Wisconsin has gone out in the first round. So they were obviously not having a good year this year, going against Ohio State, but they were ranked number 2 last year and lost to number 7 Michigan State. So I don't know where Greg Gard's going to go with this. Obviously, we can talk to Joe D a little bit. We've brought that up to him before about how Chris McIntosh is putting his kind of thumbprint on where the Badger program all around is going, from hockey to basketball to football, etc. So I don't even know. And then we brought up to the NIT earlier. Who even really cares if they win the NIT, I guess, to my point, because it's just sad. I'm rooting for Marquette, brother. That's where I'm going.
Win the NIT, they have to get invited first.
Exactly. But I mean, what other option they have? So you don't think they're even going to make it to the NIT?
Well, you have to get invited.
Right.
So
I mean, for as much as you were hating to lose this $20 to Matty Ice.
Well, it was $10.
Oh, it was $10.
$10, which makes it a little bit less painful. But listen, at this point now, I'm starting to wonder, would the NIT be something that the Badgers, first of all, would accept? Because sometimes you can decline these invitations. Right. You don't have to take them. It's the National Invitational Tournament. So would they take the invitation? I would probably say yes, but there is some risk in taking an invitation to the NIT and not winning the NIT. So if you're a Wisconsin Badger team, it's not like football where you go to a bowl game and you take the bowl game because you've won X number of games and you just go. The Badgers have been an NCAA tournament team for 21 of the last 22 seasons. Now, the season that they didn't make it, they didn't go to anything, right? Like they just didn't go to anything. I'm not entirely sure the NIT would be the proper fit for the Badgers. I know that LSU's gone to the NIT in recent memory. That was actually the year Ben Simmons, I want to say, was on that team.
Wow. And
didn't even play in the NIT. Maybe it was the year before. The point is, certain programs just don't feel like NIT fits. I don't know that Wisconsin would get an invite, and I don't know that they would accept it if they did. This might just be one of those seasons now where you sort of go back home. And when I mean go back home, go back to Madison. You lick your wounds a bit here, and you recalibrate exactly what this team is all about. Connor Essegian is a kid with a lot of upside. He shot bad last night, 4 for 13, had 11 points, had a couple of splash plays. Tyler Wall's a senior. Yep. He's out. So that's it for him.
Well, and I feel sorry for the seniors, like, for him. I mean,
I think it was only Tyler Wall.
Yeah, and he had a career at Wisconsin. His name is going to be there for the last 4 years. And I'm sorry, you just feel sorry for the kid because they had a decent year.
Do you think Tyler Wall is like an all-timer at Wisconsin?
No, I just feel bad for seniors to go out this way.
Oh,
that's all I feel bad for, man. And he's a Wisconsin kid.
Dude, I don't fucking feel bad for him. I mean, they're playing D1. Feel bad for him? No, he's gonna go play in Italy. I mean, like, what feel bad for him? He's 6'10". I don't feel bad for this dude. I mean, it's not like high school where it's the last game of your whole entire life. I mean, for some of these guys, it might be. I don't feel bad for him. No, I feel like when you're in a Division I sport, you're a semi-professional. Go out and do your job. I mean, I don't feel bad for pros when they lose either. It's just, it is what it is. I feel bad for fans.
Right.
So I don't feel bad for the kids. This is one of those things where they're men. These are grown-ups. These are 18-plus-year-old men. Okay. So they're not children. I'm not going to cuddle them. Go out there and figure this thing out. For the Wisconsin Badgers, like you mentioned, who's the AD? What's his name now?
Chris.
Oh, okay.
McIntosh.
That guy.
Yep.
So when you're saying he's putting his stamp on the programs, well, okay, cool. What? So Luke Fickell got hired. That's fine. Jim Leonard still doesn't have a job, from what I understand. I don't think that Jim Leonard's been hired by anybody yet.
He's supposedly being courted by a couple teams in the NFL for a defensive coordinator position.
But they better hurry up because those positions are filling up fast.
100%.
So I don't know that, to my point, he's not employed currently as a coach.
No,
all right.
Not at all.
So Jim Leonard's not hired. They've got Luke Fickell, which means Jim Leonard and the whole idea of Jim Leonard maybe wasn't that good of an idea in the first place.
Well, and look at the amount of kids that are already transferring over to Wisconsin that were not coming. They lost some kids, but there's a lot of college.
Okay, right. So Luke Fickell comes over.
Yeah.
The hockey coach.
Granado. Gone.
Okay.
Yep, done.
So now we'll see what happens with Greg Gard.
Right.
Okay, because this is what I'm saying. To feel bad for these kids, no. Tyler Wall played valiantly in his final collegiate game, so to speak. Great. He'll be able to play overseas if he wants. That's the thing. And he could go to the G League probably, but he'll be able to figure it out. So I don't feel bad for him. The other Badgers, they're coming back next year. Cool. What's this team going to be like next year? Because where are you going to go with this? If you're the Wisconsin Badgers, and I've said this for many, many years, you're playing in a deficit position anyways, because the style of basketball that you play isn't conducive to today's basketball players. Okay. Marquette, Ohio State, anybody. Michigan stand that, different conferences, different styles, but the Wisconsin Badgers have been playing to a Bo Ryan style of basketball, which worked for a time. It really did. There was a time in which that worked really, really well. The athletes are getting so much better now. And if you're going to want to be true to a pedigree and a tradition that says you get unathletic but solid overall players to come to the program to play a game in which you pass the ball 25 seconds, and on the 30th second, the oldest remaining white guy on the team gets to shoot the ball, the chances that you're going to A, recruit anybody that's good, or B, going to be able to compete with on a consistent level everybody else is a fallacy. Because what we're seeing now, and you mentioned Marquette hired Shaka Khan. Mm-hmm. Not many people thought before this season started Marquette would be better than Wisconsin.
For sure.
That was not many people's thoughts. A lot of people downplayed the hiring of Shaka Khan. Fine. The Badgers beat the Marquette Golden Eagles early this season. Marquette's a top 10 program.
Top 10. I think they're number
6 in the nation.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see how they do in the big dance. I'm not suggesting that they win. I haven't watched all that much Marquette basketball, but the recruits that they get are markedly different than what Wisconsin gets. Look at the athletes out there. And that was the problem with the Badgers versus Ohio State last night. Even in the Badgers' great comeback, Tyler Wall tries to go downstairs, and I can't remember this cat's name for Ohio State. He's just bigger, taller, more athletic, and he's just rejecting Tyler Wall at the rim like there was nothing to it. The Badgers don't have the athletes. And the one-off that we have seen in recent seasons with Johnny Davis, and to a lesser extent, Brad Davison and these guys, was such that you got a great generational type athlete for Wisconsin on the court. And because you had that great generational type Wisconsin athlete on the court, they were able to play a style of basketball that didn't force them to pass the ball for 25 seconds and take the last second shot with the oldest remaining white guy. It gave Johnny Davis the floor to go do his thing. And he did. He scored 20 points a game. So I just don't know if this style of basketball is really going to be able to work. And I will be curious to talk to Joe and get his thoughts about what perhaps the new athletic director could be looking at when it comes to the Badgers basketball coach. Because look, if the football culture is going to change, which it looks like it is, the hockey culture is going to change. Okay, maybe it's just time for a change. Maybe Wisconsin is going through a holistic changeover.
This isn't Barry Alvarez Badgers anymore, is what I'm trying to get at. I mean, the NFL with what it's not the same Paul Christ Badger team anymore. It's going to be more of a running.
Thank God.
Exactly, should be more exciting. With basketball, we'll see what happens because it's kind of been. It's just was painful for me to really watch. We'll see what happens. And the Badger hockey team, Tony Granado did a lot for the Badger hockey for a long period of time, but he just couldn't run a program. So there's changes need to become to Wisconsin program all around, and everybody needs it because it just hasn't been. It's been painful to watch, in my opinion. Just stuck in our own ways for way too long a period of time. Now getting into this motherfucker.
Well, I was going to say I'd never watched really a Badger hockey game before I moved here, but I've enjoyed some of what it is. Jack Gorniak from the area, really excited to watch him. He didn't pan out exactly the way that I know that some people thought or hoped that he would. But I get your point. And listen, the idea that the whole Wisconsin Badger, school program history narrative has to change isn't one that I'll completely sink my teeth into. But on some level, I think that we're seeing a transition into a more modern approach when it comes to some of these things. Now, speaking of modern approaches, this would be a very modern approach. And I want to just go ahead and point you guys and gals to our poll question this morning on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney, as well as on the Sports Carnival group page, which now, Matt, over 400 members. We're very excited. The poll question this morning is asking you, if betting is allowed to be placed on WWE matches, which both Colorado and Michigan are currently looking at, will the industry of sports betting be able to hold up to scrutiny? Again, if sports betting is allowed on fixed matches, do you think the industry of sports betting will be able to hold up to scrutiny? I want to get into this more, but before we do that, I want to take a quick break. Say hi to our friend Kyle Cable at One Trust Real Estate. Joe Daguanno, our green and gold insider, who we did not get to talk to on Monday, is here with us, and we've got a lot of ground to cover with Joe. We'll talk to him about the Packers and Rodgers. What's the latest, and what could the Packers get in return for Rodgers at this point? How does Joe feel about that whole Badger take that we just laid out there? And also, sports betting on WWE matches, doesn't this sort of call into question the idea of integrity in professional sports? And doesn't that also put a guy like Chad Forster, Chad the producer, kind of back on the forefront of saying, this shit is already rigged, and it probably always
Scripted.
is.
Yep.
All right, stay tuned.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
And we are just flying here on the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room, who, I might mention again, is open at 11 o'clock today for great lunch, shaved prime rib, spicy or traditional gyro. And, something that we haven't talked about, Matt, I'll just put you on the spot now as we bring our green and gold insider, Joe Daguanno, to the program, is this Brewers opening day and Brewers opening day party at the Recovery Room. Now, that's sort of been our tradition over the last 4 or 5 years. We've had a Brewers opening day party, bunch of giveaways. Our friends at Jameson, absolute,
I like bringing back the old style for opening day. We do some hot dog, make it like a hot baseball theme party.
So what say you then, owner of the Recovery Room? Can we put you on the spot here in front of our audience and say, we'll do a Brewers opening day party this year? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think you kind of put me on the spot yesterday, even though I wasn't here, but I'll agree on two things. Yes, we will do a bracket.
Okay.
And yes, we will do a baseball opening day party.
Sweet. All right, Joe. Well, a couple of big pieces of legislation have been passed, and I think because of that, we are now known as the two most successful people in Wisconsin politics. Great to have you back on, Joe. Top of the morning to you. A lot of ground to cover. When we were going to have you on Monday, it was still very early in the whole Aaron Rodgers Jets re-pursuit after the retreat in darkness sort of concluded, and the speculation was looming. Now we're in full scale Aaron Rodgers to the Jets hyperdrive, and I'll just start off with this. do you think that the Packers are going to get, and Packer fans are going to get back for Aaron Rodgers what they think they should get or what they thought they should get back if, in fact, this deal with New York or whoever really does happen?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm fighting a cold. So, I'm playing hurt, though. So, you know what? I'm playing hurt. I'm here today. So it's all good, man.
Anthony Davis could learn a lot from you, Joe. Anthony Davis could learn a lot.
Yeah, Anthony Davis gets hurt just climbing up to the chair to actually talk on the mic. He doesn't even get hurt.
That's actually Kevin Durant. He got hurt in warm-ups last night.
Exactly. I thought that was a beautiful thing. I think the Packers will get at least that number one pick. I do. Look at the other trades that have happened recently with NFL quarterbacks and the fact that the Jets want him so badly right now. I mean, the contingency to go out and you've got Joe Douglas and you've got Woody and you've got Saleh and you've got Nathaniel Hackett and you got all these guys going out there. And so, the Jets really want this to happen. I think Green Bay at this point wants this to happen. I think Green Bay gets at least the number one. I do. And I think there's probably a conditional pick to go along with that as far as what happens next. I don't see Green Bay doing what Green Bay did back with Favre, where they shipped Favre over to the Jets for a third-round pick. And I just don't see it. And so I see Green Bay getting that number one pick, probably going to be the 13th pick, and put Green Bay and Gutekunst in a real good position. Now, here's the thing, guys. This all started back in 2020. And, Dave, you and I know this. We said Gutekunst, he's putting his legacy on the line with Love. He wants to be that Ted Thompson. He wanted to find that next quarterback. So the clock started ticking 2020 draft day. And that's when this whole thing started. And so you wonder how it got to this point and where we are today and just all these other things. And look, I've said it from day one. I still have my doubts about Jordan Love. I hope I'm wrong. I hope in 15 years, after a successful run and Green Bay trades him to the New York Jets, we could all be very, very happy about that. So, this all started back then. I think it's coming to a head probably today or tomorrow. Obviously, legal tampering starts Monday. So this thing's got to get done. And I do see Green Bay, like I said, walking out with at least that number one pick. I just don't see any way how they couldn't.
So go ahead. I'm just going to put up this slide because the dirty vaccine money he's going to have to take. So go ahead, man.
I was going to say to Joe right off the bat, it doesn't seem like there's any leverage for the Jets. It seems like there's only two teams involved on Aaron Rodgers, or one team, and it's the Jets. There's no leverage for anything else. So they must have the compensation, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they put this thing together. I think the trade compensation is going to hinge a little bit on who takes salary, what kind of a salary thing we're going to do. Do the Packers take a little bit more salary than the Jets pony up more? Do the Jets take most of the salary or all of the salary? Do they get less in compensation? So I think that's where this thing is right now. But I think right now, I would say that the Jets and Packers probably have the framework put together already. And really, it's up to Aaron Rodgers right now as far as is he going to retire or not. The bottom line for me is I see him in New York no later than today or tomorrow.
Wow. So today or tomorrow, no later. I would be shocked if it happens that quickly. But, Joe, you have been sort of nailing these things for the last number of years. So I'll go ahead and defer to your predictions here. What I will say about the Jets and Aaron Rodgers is this, because tongue-in-cheek, we were talking about it yesterday with Mike Schmidt about having to take that Woody Johnson & Johnson dirty vaccine money, and how would Aaron be able to really get over himself? We know that Aaron believes that he is the shit, right? Like, this guy believes he is the man. He doesn't care about any of that nonsense, and he could go through whatever mental gymnastics necessary to be able to fit himself into his own narrative. But there are a couple of things at play here, and Aaron and now Brett Favre's careers are mirroring each other in such a way that is inexplicable. This is like, does life imitate art or does art imitate life? But there are a couple of things at play here. One of them was this. When Brett Favre went to the New York Jets, that felt like an eternity ago. The New York media wasn't exactly softer, but it was a media that Brett Favre was comfortable playing with. The New York Jets with Brett Favre for the first 8 games before he hurt his shoulder were undefeated. They were 8-0. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't go to the Jets and absolutely fucking dominate, the people of New York, the reporters of New York are going to spare him no quarter. And I'm not entirely sure that Aaron Charles Rodgers, in all of his grace and eloquence and his benevolence to those like Pat McAfee and some guy in front of a fire, I'm just not entirely sure that Aaron's going to want to really have to defend himself in places which he is not used to defending himself. There is no friendlier, from my perspective, and I could be wrong, but there is no friendlier of a media market than there is in the state of Wisconsin.
Right.
When it comes to covering Wisconsin sports teams, the reporters in the state of Wisconsin are the biggest homers I have ever seen. And I'm not using that as a knock. I'm just saying it like it is. These people truly and actually love these teams, the Brewers, the Badgers, the Bucks, the Packers. So he gets a certain kind of a pass. He will not get that in New York. I just don't know how this works out for him in any way, shape, or form. For the Packers, I think they're in a great spot because Jordan Love is or isn't going to be awesome. Whatever. The Packers draft and develop players. That's what they do. And in today's day and age, you can go out there and find another QB. We just saw 7th rounder in Brock Purdy nearly take a team in San Francisco to the Super Bowl. So the Packers are going to be fine. They're going to get draft picks back. They're going to lower their cap. They can go ahead and rebuild a team. I don't see how this works out for Aaron Rodgers. I really don't. Like his best designs might be actually the worst ideas that he has ever had for his career. So I applaud your, saying that he goes today or tomorrow. I think he strings these people out for weeks. I think he tries to make it really painful and really uncomfortable because he loves the attention. He knows that it's all about him when everybody has to wait on him.
Yeah, this gets done before free agency. And like I said, Monday's the legal tampering, Wednesday is free agency. The Jets and the Packers can't let this go. So in other words, it needs to be done. So, it's interesting, DC. I was having drinks last night with I was trying to kill this cold that I've got. So I thought, well, maybe a little bourbon might help that. So I was having drinks with our good friend Bill Michaels last night. And
yes,
the thing about it is, and Bill and I were talking about this, and Bill obviously much more a part of the Packer organization than I am. And we just talked about how Rodgers through the years always said he didn't want to be Brett Favre. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to be Bart Starr. Through the years, he wanted this he had true disdain for how Favre handled things at the end there. And also it's interesting because Bill and I talked last night how the narrative has changed from the Packer organization as well. And so, I just think you look at it over the last year or two, and whatever's going on with Rodgers, he's changed because this was a guy who was at the off-season workouts religiously. This is a guy that every year showed up to these workouts, whether or not they were mandatory or not. He was always there. This is a guy that's changed, and maybe it is that, and maybe we all get to that point. I don't want to wax philosophical right now, but when you get to that point when you're no longer relevant, and you feel like you're losing that relevancy, do you hold on for dear life? Because everything Rodgers said he didn't want to do, he's doing. I mean, even the exact same fucking team he's going to with the New York Jets. I mean, you can't write this script any better. I mean, somebody said today, it's like, wow, I can't wait until Aaron Rodgers replaces
whoever for
Kirk
the
Cousins,
yes.
Kirk Cousins, and becomes the Viking quarterback. And I loved Andrew Brandt said, 2038, the Jordan Love to the Jets story is going to be a great story. All this kind of shit, and it's just like, dude, you put yourself in this position. But look, you say where did this go wrong? It started in 2020. Goody made the move. We all know that. You and I said it at the time that this day was going to come. And now it's here, and the Jets are presenting themselves as a viable option. They're the only option. Diana Rossini from ESPN has said, look, it's the Jets or the Packers or retire. There is no other entity out there right now. And so, and Diana Rossini also said the Jets management team she hears is very, very confident and optimistic as of an hour ago that this deal is going to get done. So like I said, I see it getting done quickly. It's interesting how it happens. But, the other thing I want to touch upon is Aaron Jones yesterday on Good Morning Football pleading Aaron Rodgers to come home. Now, people also said, we also spoke highly of Jordan Love. If you break down the narrative of both, he never said Jordan Love is going to be a great quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. All right. When Aaron Jones was on Good Morning Football and you break down what he said he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. He talked about he's got the ability to start. He never said he wanted him to be the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. Yesterday, Aaron Jones literally begs and pleads Aaron Rodgers to come back to Green Bay to be the quarterback. So it's a different narrative when you break that shit down. Now the other thing that I think is a real thing in that locker room is you got the old guys who are very clearly in Rodgers' corner. You got the tweener guys who are like Aaron Jones who are in Rodgers' corner. Then you got most of the young guys who at this point, they just want to be fucking done with it, move on and play football. So I think you're getting a little bit of a locker room divided. But I thought Aaron Jones, when he said yesterday on Good Morning Football, he speaks for his teammates as well when he said, Aaron, come home, come back to Green Bay. We are so close. So it was an interesting twist when I saw that yesterday. And everyone said, well, yeah, he said the same thing about Jordan Love. He never fucking said he wanted Jordan Love to be the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. And that's a big difference. And so this thing is so, that's why I said you and I got to go fucking Hardy Boys on this thing, man, because it is, there's clues all around of what's really happening, but no one knows except for those in 1265.
Well, and I think even they are probably less in the know than anybody else thinks either, because I look at Aaron Rodgers and I see a clandestine operator here. This is somebody who largely operates on his own without really the counsel that we can see anyways from those inside the organization. So listen, the idea that Rodgers still comes back to the Packers is still one that I'm on a bit. I mean, I think it's still 51-49. He comes back to the Packers because
I think I'm up to 65% he goes. So I still got about a 35% shot he stays.
Listen, there's still a chance. And for what it's worth, I think that this thing for Green Bay could work out like this. If they just can't figure it out, if the Jets can't figure it out, because the Jets still need to have $58.2 million of available cap space for at least one day in order to rework Aaron Rodgers' contract. In whatever fashion that has to happen, they have to have that available cap space for at least 24 hours to be able to work out the restructuring of a contract. They do have the cap space. There aren't many teams that do. I think the limited number of options for Rodgers is also interesting because 3-4 years ago, when we knew that this would end sooner than later, the haul would have been enormous. Huge. And you could have seen more compensation come back than Green Bay probably would have known what to do with. Here we are now, and because of that, they've given it their best shot. I disagree with Aaron Jones that they're very close. They seem to be getting further away. So I think that it's time to reset the tumbler a bit here. But again, when this thing breaks, and if it comes up this evening, I'm going to have to get you back on at least for a couple of minutes tomorrow. But let's transition here a little bit while we've still got some time with you this morning, Joe. I know, Matt, you've got some questions for Joe different than last week, but I do want to get you to touch on briefly Badgers basketball. What we saw in the first half last night was atrocious. Matt was talking about the new AD sort of putting his stamp on all of the programs, getting rid of the hockey coach, hiring Luke Fickell to replace Jim Leonard, who was instead for Paul Christ. What do you think about Greg Gard? Because a couple of weeks ago, you were basically saying it's time to move on from Gard. After what we saw now in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, does that reinforce your opinion that this needs to be the end of the road for Greg Gard and the Badger basketball team needs to turn a corner too?
Yeah, Matt mentioned something earlier. I was listening earlier, and he said this isn't Barry's Badgers anymore. I'm going to strongly disagree with that because Barry's got his fingerprints behind the scenes on this with Chris McIntosh. Do not for 1 minute think that the godfather of Wisconsin athletics, Barry fucking Alvarez, isn't playing the Don right now and doing a little puppeteering with Chris McIntosh. So that's the only area I will disagree with. I've been covering Barry for a long time. I mean, right when he first got here. I know how this dude works. And this is his vision being implemented through Chris McIntosh, because the bottom line, Barry wants to be fucking successful. And Barry is very Godfather-esque. I mean, we're talking Tony Soprano of Madison right now. So Barry's very much involved in Chris McIntosh's decisions. Now, that being said, I don't see an AD firing 3 major coaches in a 12-month span. I just don't see it. Granato had to go. He absolutely had to go. And I think seeing what was happening with the landscape of college football, with the mega conferences, I think the move was right to make that move with Chris. I don't see Gard going right now. I just don't. I don't see McIntosh becoming the hatchet man with 3 coaches the 3 major coaches in one 12-month scenario. And the recruiting class for the Badgers next year is very strong. So I think Gard gets another year. I think it's okay. And he's put on warning. Look, Granato got that warning shot last year. All right. So Granato did get that warning shot that things need to improve or else. I think Gard gets the warning shot. I think he's in there one more year. But again, I want to stress, if you think this is all McIntosh not doing this with Barry's blessing, I will tell you right now, Barry is like, he's sitting in his chair and they're still kissing the fucking ring. And he's saying to Chris McIntosh, look, you got to fucking whack that guy. You got to fucking whack that guy. So this is still very much a Barry Alvarez type of an operation.
And I guess, Joe, maybe I misspoke on that, and maybe I didn't use the right words on that. I guess my thing is I do agree with that, and it is still Barry Alvarez's show. But where did you see? Because I grew up obviously watching the Badgers. You grew up with obviously know Barry. Did you ever see him changing this vision? Because honestly, this just seems like it's been the same vision for Barry and the football squad, and now he's just changing. I guess I understand what you're saying. I just never see this vision going from this typical Badger football to this run and gun style coming under Barry Alvarez.
You know what? The landscape of college football has changed, and the one thing that Barry Alvarez I think is good at is adapting and adjusting. I think you're absolutely right. I think Barry back in the day, winning Big Ten championships was enough. Winning Rose Bowls was enough. That was good enough to continue to keep the coffers rolling in from the boosters and all that type of stuff. And what's happened, I think, and we're seeing it now with the playoffs and the NIL and everything, the landscape has changed incredibly. And so you look at what was good enough 15 years ago, 10 years ago is no longer even close to being good enough.
Did you ever see that coming from Barry?
Yeah,
that change?
Barry's a businessman at heart, and Barry's going to do whatever Barry needs to do to continue to make money. And when I say make money, I'm saying for the university as well.
Right.
So yeah, he'll do whatever he needs to. I mean, this cat is a pretty smart cat. When I rip on him, I don't mean it in disrespect. I mean it that this guy is a smart businessman. And as a CEO, if you see the landscape changing and you're like, fuck, I'm not prepared for this landscape. I'm not going to be successful. Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to be extinct. Fuck you. I'm going to change to adapt. And so I think that's where Barry's at.
Okay. I'm going to throw this little wrinkle out here because I know his name hasn't been thrown around much. And he says that he's retired. He's completely, off of the radar for right now. But if Jay Wright decides that he wants to come back and possibly coach in college basketball, okay, we're talking Villanova success, ties with Wisconsin. If that's something that the University of Wisconsin thinks is a potential, because we're seeing what Shaka Khan's doing now with Marquette and really, taking this program into a whole other direction.
We might give Joe a heart attack today.
I'm just saying.
You know what? Throw the Shaka Khan reference over to Shaka, to Smart.
Shaka Smart. Did I say Shaka Khan?
I think it is.
Shaka I said Shaka Khan. That's great.
I was just about ready to just start riffing, man. Shaka Khan.
That's great. Hey, you know what? It's a lead up to Funky Friday, which we've been missing here on the podcast version. All right, Joe. Well, I appreciate your time this morning. As always, it's great to have you on. Listen, keep your phone around. I'm sure that today, if we do find out stuff, you'll be all over social media. Again, we're at the Sports Carney. You can follow Joe and see a lot of his threads through our social media posts there. But as I've mentioned, if we get some big news throughout the day, we'll be looking forward to talking to you again. Appreciate you fighting through the injury again. Anthony Davis could learn a lot from you, man. Just tough it up, get out there.
Sack up, man. Sack
do
up.
The work, baby. Do the work.
Thanks,
That's
Joe.
what you got to do. Hey, like I said, At this point, Rodgers will be a Jet before Monday.
All right, big guy. Well, we love this. Talk to you soon, man.
All right, man. Take care.
See ya. Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices. Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio. Back with you here.
That was good.
So apparently I said that earlier. 2P12 Foreman's checking in. He's like, you said Shaka Khan earlier. Yeah, I meant Shaka Smart. Shaka Khan. Dude, Shaka Khan was the shit. My friend Jackie Lomax, rest in peace, Jackie, was one of her guitar players in the late 1970s.
No
Jackie,
way.
yeah, he was part of the Capitol Records label at that time. Jackie's first record was the first record produced by the Beatles' Apple Records label. So Jackie hails from Liverpool, England, or hailed from Liverpool, England. So he was good friends coming up with Eric Clapton. So the credits on Jackie Lomax's first album, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Eric Clapton, Paul McCartney. I don't think Lennon was on that first record of his.
Either way, it's a hell of a lifetime.
Oh my
man.
God.
Wow.
I got a chance to work with Jackie for over, a span of about 8 years in Southern California. And anyways, Jackie worked with Shaka Khan. And I know that's a pretty long way to get back to why I fucked up Shaka Smart, but it doesn't matter. You guys got what I was putting down, and Shaka Khan, great band, great artist from back in the day. Speaking of great artists, I've got to bring back this message, which came to us from our Facebook group page. And one of our great friends, the proprietor, at least on the sales side of Stack's Family Farms, that, of course, is Johnny Wodzinski, Johnny Wad, who asked, will there be Malort specials on opening day, Brewers opening day? So I think that's like March 30th, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's 23rd, something wrong. Yeah, whatever. Close enough.
I think it's the 30th. If I want to say, I think Major League Baseball's opening day is around the 30th. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll have to check on that. It's coming up at the end of the month.
Yep.
Will there be Malort specials at the Recovery Room? Yes, of course, because who do the Brewers open up against? The hated arch rivals, the Chicago Cubs. And of course, Malort comes from Chicago. Johnny Wodzinski maybe comes from Chicago. We're not sure. You do. So there's that. Yeah, we'll do Malort. Now, of Malort, they're already $2, right? All day, every day. A shot of Malort is $2. You get to ask yourself a question before you take the shot. Why? You get to ask yourself another question after the shot. What the fuck was that for? And they're always special at the Recov. I'll pour you some today, Johnny. Come and see us.
Yeah, and Bobby Roth checking in. You were correct on that, Dave. It is March 30th, Brewers and Cubs.
Okay, March 30th, Brewers versus Cubs. Thank you. I thought I had seen March 30th in my mind's eye, and I was right. All right, so March 30th, Recovery Room. Be there or be square. I like this. And the Malort shots, yeah, they'll be flowing, especially if Johnny Watt is there.
Well, and we'll also have the brackets ready for everybody in about a week. So
yes,
whatever, let's get ready to roll. It's gonna be a crazy weekend for sports. The XFL's not going to get anybody watching it because of college basketball, and then we got a lot of things coming here. A lot of events coming up here soon, my friend.
You know what? I don't know if that's going to be true because, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, because college basketball championship week generally, Matt, is like one of the most hyped weeks of basketball in the entire calendar year.
That's why I'm saying that.
But this week, and I was talking about it yesterday, this week, the NFL, Aaron Rodgers and what happens with Rodgers, Lamar Jackson getting tagged by the Ravens. These stories in the NFL have actually played trump card.
That's why I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying the XFL is going to be very bottom on the list this weekend.
Probably. I would say that you're right. But now this is a little promotional announcement for later this afternoon/evening. So 5 p.m. tonight on ESPN 105.5. I'll be back with John Papadopoulos. I'll be giving you my play of the week, which I've got a player prop coming up tonight for the Bucks and the Nets game. So tune in for that. But I'm also going to tease you with a little XFL special. So now that we've got some XFL weeks under our belt, I'll give you a little bit on the XFL. So that's just a little promotional announcement for coming up later. Getting back to gambling, though.
Yep.
In a roundabout way, this morning's poll question, which is on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney, as well as the Facebook group page, is asking you this. if the WWE is successful in getting legalized gambling on their matches in the states of Colorado and Michigan, which are the two states that are looking at this right now, if the WWE is successful in getting this to be a legally sanctioned, bettable event, will the industry of sports gambling, Matt, be able to hold up to scrutiny? The reason that I ask this question is because there are a growing number of people, and Chad, the producer, was amongst the most vocal of these. There is a growing number of people that suggest that all of sports, not just the WWE, which is sports entertainment, but the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, the WNBA, NASCAR, all of this shit is scripted in some way, shape, or form. I don't believe that that is the case necessarily. However, if this actually goes through, and in Colorado and Michigan, you could bet on WWE matches, I will start to open myself up to a few more of these questions. What about you? I know that, you're a skeptic about a lot of stuff too, just like Chad was. Does this do anything to make sports betting seem, I don't want to say less virtuous, but less on the up and up?
Well, is it scripted or fixed? That's one thing up there for syntax or whatever. I agree with you this on all the way. I'm going to bring up Johnny Watt again. I don't know if Michigan and Colorado, if the legislature's smoking the better shit than Stacks Family Farm out there, because this shit makes no sense to me. I guess where I'm at with it, it's the integrity of it, Dave. And I'm full-hearted with you because this makes no sense to me. Again, going back, you already have people like DraftKings and FanDuel that are supposedly taking bets on the Oscars.
There's some that will do that, sure.
When does this shit end, my friend?
Well, it shouldn't ever. I mean, it never ends.
No, but with this type of shit, is it scripted or is it not? Is this entertainment or is it sports? This is supposed to be entertainment, not sports.
Yes. So so I'll separate the Oscars from other things. Some places will take bets. BetUS, by the way, betus.com will take bets on presidential races. Okay, we that's not allowed. That's not legal in the United States.
Okay.
Like, you can't do that. But certain offshore sites will do that. Like, I don't have a problem betting on anything. You want to bet whether it rains today or not? I'm fine with that. The problem that I've got with the WWE becoming a legally sanctioned event to bet on is just that it will start to open, critics, and even somebody like myself who has been on the outside of the criticism looking in, it will start to open up critics to the idea that not only the WWE, but the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, all of these sports are in some way, shape, or form, if not completely scripted, they are staged.
Let me throw this out to you. What is the favorite C word in the NFL right now? Collusion. So there's all this crap going on, whether it's the NFL, whether Lamar Jackson's not going to go to another team because somebody's talking. I'm trying to equate this to like the envelope being open for the Oscars.
Sure.
Somebody's going to know something. Somebody's going to let something slip out of their mouths, and
which is why Vegas doesn't take bets on the Oscars.
Right. I guess that's where I was trying to send it back to you on that, because none of this makes sense to me, my friend.
Well, listen, so the WWE, and we've got this on our screen if you're watching us on YouTube, on both of our Facebook platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Twitch. If not, I'll try my best to describe this to you if you're listening to us later on the podcast. The WWE is working with EY, commonly known as Ernst & Young, to secure match results so they won't leak to the public. WWE creative executives don't plan to inform wrestlers of who will win until just hours before the match. So they're trying, at least in some ways, to mitigate exactly what you were talking about. But again, that's the same argument with the Oscar thing, right? Because you've got an envelope. People know who won. Now that makes the idea of having a fully transparent way of betting on it, it makes that feel a little bit less than genuine. Morning Wood's popping up here and asks, if they legalize WWE results, does Vegas open up betting to what happens in movies or TV scripting? That's another really interesting point. The thing about this is with the WWE, and again, this is just Colorado and Michigan looking at this right now. If they do end up getting this through, which I'm not entirely sure that they will. And by the way, that's a way that you can vote on the poll question. Yes, it'll be business as usual for sports books. No doubt will be placed on all results, or they won't let it happen. 66% of respondents on our Facebook group page already say they won't let it happen. Going over to Twitter, it's split 50-50 with business as usual, and they won't allow it to happen. So there still is a large contingency of people that don't think this will happen. But we do have Okay, we do have a couple of more comments that I want to get to. So guess what? Hold on. We've got something.
Regulation time is up.
What the hell is a flux capacitor?
Engage overtime. Now. P.S. Soylent Green is people.
PPS. Corporate processed food is Soylent Green.
Okay, so we'll stick around for a little overtime. Joe V was checking in here and says this, Matt, the WWE is going to funnel money. How stupid. That's another thing that you'd have to worry about. So let's just go out on a limb and say that there are bad actors involved with, I don't know, organizations big and large. There generally are. How many people will know about these premeditated events? At what point don't they start, at least on some tangent level, or even, sort of outside of the organizational level, funnel money into certain coffers? Like, how wouldn't they do that? Because somebody is going to know how this thing is going to play out. That only leads to the possibility of more things being corrupted. And
human nature.
Exactly. It's a human nature type thing. We've got a Facebook user checking in with us.
Bobby Roth again.
Okay, Bobby Roth. What up, Bobby? And asking, why can you bet on how long the national anthem will be at the Super Bowl? That's a great question. Now, again, that's not something that you can necessarily bet on everywhere. I do believe that Las Vegas has that ability for you to bet on how long the national anthem is, largely because those are proposition bets that A, don't get a ton of action on them, and because B, they're not traditionally seen as something that is premeditated in the holistic respect. Like, the artist doesn't generally say, hey, I'm going to go out there and hit this for 4 minutes and 21 seconds, right? A lot of times that is determined in real time. Maybe they stretch out, a note longer than they would have in the practice.
Off the crowd.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a number of ways that can work. So there is still seen as some sort of, the game of chance is something that we always have to put into play here. Is it a game of chance? Is this something that is a game of chance, which makes something gambling,
or
right?
Is it fixed?
Or is it a fixed occurrence? So in that respect, I guess you can look at that as a game of chance, much like you do with the coin flip, right? There's a 50-50 proposition the thing lands heads or tails, okay? Maybe it's 50.5 to 49.5. I don't know, based on whatever science you're looking at. But it's essentially a 50-50 proposition, so you can bet on that. I guess my overall point here, because I don't want to beat a dead horse and say that this is something that is going to diametrically alter the landscape of all sports betting forever. But my main takeaway when I saw this, and you posted this on our Facebook group page last night, was that when you start to see an erosion in integrity of the game, integrity of the sport, integrity of the industry, it just makes everything more questionable. Not to say that you won't still engage in that particular activity. It just makes it more questionable. I would be a little bit more reticent. It's not that I would stop, but I would be a little bit more reticent about betting on certain things if I felt that there was some sort of scripted narrative to it. I wouldn't like that as a feeling as a sports betting fan. I just wouldn't want to feel that I was betting on the Packers and the Vikings, and somehow, some way, there was somebody inside the NFL office in New York that had something to do with how this game was going to go over, under, or what the spread was going to be. That would upset me.
Yeah. And I guess I'm not going to lie. I have bet on WWF before when I bet at my cousin's house parties, and we'd have like 10, 15 guys going on and be like, just to throw it out there back in the day. And obviously this is a long time ago, but just say it was Andre Giant versus Hulk Hogan. We'd put $5 or $10 or some shit on that. That's when you're doing it at a party. But when you're doing this through a betting process and you don't know what's happening, but they do, it's taking it to just a whole nother level, my friend. And that's why I just don't see how the integrity of this, I just can't see it coming through.
Well, I see that a couple of our guys are going back and forth, and Soul Surfer P1 Breacher said he sees a resemblance in Vince McMahon and Jeremy P12 Foreman. And then Morning Wood did say, because he knows intimately the WWE, being a good friend of the Hulksters, says that to Breacher, rumor has it, and that's a good way to tie Foreman into this. Rumor has it, the Vin Man definitely has some illegitimate kids out there. So that's interesting. Maybe P12 Foreman has got himself a little family fortune that he didn't even know about.
Oh, boy.
Right?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Foreman checking in says Vince McMahon is hurting for money right now, so he needs he needs this to pass. And there are the most dumbass hillbilly wrestling fans in Colorado and Michigan. So those are the best states for him to go after.
Have you been to Florida yet, brother? I'm sorry, man. I'm just saying it out there. And I don't think he's really hurting for money if he sells this thing for $8 billion or whatever he's going at with. So yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. Let's see. Morningwood, we'll let you be the last word on this because, like I've mentioned, you're our WWE insider. He says what happens WWE storyline wise always leaks. You can't tell me that WWE writers will start throwing bets down. You can't tell me that they will or they won't. He says it would be corrupt as hell. I think you can't tell me that WWE writers won't start throwing down bets on what happens. See, that's the other, that's where I was largely going with this. There are going to be people that know what the outcome will be.
Yep.
You better pay those people real well, right? Because if you're telling me that I can lay a little bit of cash in Colorado or Michigan through a proxy, which is what we call a proxy better, to make me some money because I don't know, I'm making $80,000 a year writing scripts for the WWE, but on this particular night I can make $80,000. Yeah, I might just do that. And I think that Morningwood, yes, he corrected himself. It was won't. So yeah, don't tell me they won't do that. I won't tell you they won't do that either because I think that's a very, very real possibility. All right, guys and gals, this has been a fun one. I'm glad we got a chance to do some overtime. Thanks again to our good friend Joe Daguanno, Green and Gold Insider. Matt, glad to see that you are back in action, and so are we this morning, as a matter of fact, starting at 11 o'clock downstairs at the recovery room. We are opening up doors for lunch. It is spicy or traditional Euro choice aside or the shaved prime rib sandwich. And of course, it looks like a day in which, I don't know, it might start to snow. The winter storm warning keeps popping up on my computer. You need to drink in this instance. That's when you need to drink in the recovery room. We can get you straightened out. So have a great rest of your day. And Matt, I'll see you in about an hour and 55 minutes.
Sounds good, my friend. Thank you so much. Good luck today to Aquinas and West Salem girls
high
school basketball.
Go girls.